Welcome and thank you, Sandra, for being the very first guest on my podcast.
Thank you. I'm honored to be here and excited to be here.
I'm
That's
excited to have you.
Thanks.
First question number one, um, tell us about yourself and tell us what is it that you do.
Sure. I'm an energy healer. It's the term people know the best, but I like to call it as well energy practitioner. And what that means is that I work with people's energy fields in a specific way towards whatever their issue is that they're struggling with, whether it's physical, whether it's emotional. And that's the bulk of what I'm doing right now, day to day, is just one-on-one client sessions. I see people in person, I see them remotely through Zoom, and that works just as effectively. I get that question a lot is it as effective? And it absolutely is. And I guess I'm just trying to grow the awareness of the work through body code and the past life work I do, because it's such a powerful modality. Both of them are, and I've seen such amazing progress with people, and the business starting to grow and word of mouth starting to grow. And I always learn through my clients, right? It's through their challenges that we learn new pieces, and it's really true that it's the failures that make us stretch and grow and try harder, and then get over a hurdle and learn another piece. So I've learned so much more, especially about the past life part in the last year. So that in a nutshell is what I've been up to.
And how did you get on this path?
Well, actually, I started in the sciences field. So I started with a master's in science in biochemistry, and I went into the pharmaceutical industry because I had that interest in healthcare. And I enjoyed that for quite a bit of time. But after about 10 years, I realized I needed something different. I wanted better work-life balance. I wanted a bit more, I don't know, meaning, direct connection with the work. And so I went to a not-for-profit, which was also in the same therapeutic area. So it was all also healthcare. And it was a great job. It checked all the boxes for me. But what happened was that 9 years in, my husband passed away unexpectedly, and that completely changed my trajectory in a way I would never have been able to predict. So I guess I would describe it. I remember that week after he passed really clearly in a way. And the image that I had so strongly in my mind was as though suddenly I wasn't seeing out of my eyes, I was seeing through my heart. I had this image of seeing through my heart and out at the world. And it was as though everything was evaluated now from a heart perspective, and the mind fell away from it. And right away, I knew I couldn't do the same job. Even though it was this perfect job for me, it was not my passion. And what I was becoming passionate about was understanding this unseen world as I explored, where did my husband go? Because I knew so clearly in that first moment, that's just his body. It's a shell. He's left. And I need to find where he is. And I'm going to find where he is. And I feel like I did find where he is ultimately. That started my spiritual path. And so that joy and excitement for the unseen world that we aren't told anything about, and then marrying that with my interest in healthcare, is kind of where I ended up now with the spiritual perspective on health.
And is there a big difference between religion and spirituality?
There is to me. For me, spirituality, what my journey was spiritually was, it began with looking inside myself, and that's never easy for us to face ourselves and say, where are we falling down? Being as hard, it's easy to judge other people, but when we turn
Mm-hmm.
it on ourselves, it's very hard to sit in that judgment and say, I wasn't really fair in this situation. I'm not really being a good person over here, or the best I can be. So it starts with introspection and wanting to be better and facing ourselves and doing that internal work. And at the same time, I was starting to meditate, which is interesting because it's something that my first husband had always tried to get me into, my husband that passed away. And I never could because I was so type A. And then what I found was it was the only time after he passed where I felt safe and happy and floaty. And that was my initial reason for doing it. But through building a meditation practice, it also started to connect me with this unseen world. So one of the first experiences I had in meditation was I heard him call out to me. And I thought, oh my gosh, I just heard his voice. So it was that I understood my guides through meditation. I got information for myself. It was a place that I could go to when the world was overwhelming and it was peaceful and it was safe. And then not realizing it at the time, it was essentially training my mind to be quieter during the day. And that's one of the biggest benefits too, is that people talk about having that busy monkey mind, which I absolutely used to do. I don't have that anymore. I don't relate to that anymore. My mind is pretty still most of the time. And when you are still, then you can recognize these intuitive pieces that are coming in because your mind's not busy and distracted. So yes, spirituality, that's what spirituality is to me. That's what connecting to the divine is to me. It's realizing that we are connected to source or God, whatever you want to call it. We don't have to go through an intermediary to do that. No one is above us or below us. We are all equal. And as we progress on that truth quest, truth within ourselves, and what is the truth of our reality, that seems to naturally lead us towards divine consciousness in my mind. So, and a deeper connection.
Now, did you like practice religion before? Were you like, did your parents take you to
I wouldn't
church?
call it practicing. When I was younger, my parents belonged to the United Church. So
Okay.
we would periodically go there. And then for a while, when I was in my university years, I guess I went to an Anglican church. And I definitely resonated with aspects of it, like this higher view of life, of being the best we can be and towards a purpose and being better people. But there were things that I didn't quite understand and didn't quite make sense to me either. So for a number of years, I kind of went, the Easter and Christmas kind of thing to church. And then it wasn't really until my husband passed that it started me on a spiritual journey and understanding more about what that was.
And so how can people access the divine? Is it through
Yeah,
meditation?
I think meditation is a great place to begin. I think setting our intent is very powerful because when we understand that we are sparks of divine or of creator, we understand that we are creative beings. We are creating the reality around ourselves and we can create whatever life for ourselves we want. And we are doing that. And anything that's showing up in our lives is something we've created, whether in this life or another lifetime. So meditation, I think, is a key place to start to build that connection and that understanding that we are connected to divine and we can connect with divine and with our guides.
And does it matter when we meditate? Like, does it matter how
When you
long?
meditate, I would just say start with whatever you can do in terms of how long feels reasonable. Don't try to do an hour first off, but I would say give it at least 15 minutes.
Okay.
Because for me, it took what seemed like 5 or 10 minutes before my mind would settle down. And those thoughts that would come by and be distracting would finally kind of filter away. And then I'd be in this quiet space and I'd be like, oh, it's happening. I'm here kind of thing. But it's easy to give up too soon. And I would say also set a regular time when you're going to do it, like plan into your schedule. And whether that's first thing in the morning, that's what I used to like to do because it set the tone for my day. And I'm a morning person. For other people, they might like to do that in the evening because they're not morning people and they do it as a kind of calming down from their day. But whenever it is, don't change it around because it's just too hard to build a regular practice as it is if there isn't that consistency.
Okay, perfect. And what sort of issues can energy work improve?
So many things, definitely emotional issues such as feeling sad, feeling anxious. Those are some of the easier things to work with for me actually, and can get results a little bit faster sometimes. But physical issues can shift as well, whether those are, pain and discomfort in the body or digestive or respiratory issues, headaches, food intolerances, things like of that nature. And then energy work, probably more the soul contract side, I would say, which is past life that I do, is where I would go in terms of addressing behavioral issues most times. So we might find that it's very hard for me to public speak. I'm panicked about that and my heart races, and yet I've never had a bad public speaking episode earlier in my life. I'm not sure why I react that way. It usually goes back to past lives. It often goes back to past lives where people were in leadership or in government, which is very interesting. So any of those tendencies, I would say things like speaking up, having difficulty speaking up is often past life. What else?
Any
Any areas
physical?
of
Any
resistance. Physical
physicals?
things as well, for sure. I had a young client who had neck problems, had gone for all the tests, all the medical tests were negative. Her guides, I connect with the person's spirit guides to get a lay of the land and ask what's causing the issue. Her guide said she has had her neck broken in a past life. And I actually found, I believe, a couple of past lives where it sounded like her neck was broken. And as I recall, we did one session for her and it completely solved the problem. It took about 2 months.
Wow.
But after that, she was ecstatic and her mom was ecstatic and I was ecstatic. So it was one of the most powerful demonstrations of how a physical problem can have nothing to do with the, mechanical physical body as we think of it in this lifetime.
And so you mentioned that this one client, within one session, she was able to heal her issue.
Yes.
Is that normally how long it takes, or does it vary?
No, I wouldn't say that one session is typical. It happens. But usually you can see some progress. For example, sometimes people notice a big improvement after a first session, but that doesn't mean we've gotten to the bottom of all the energies that are behind the issue in the one session. So I'd say it's much more common to have 3-4 sessions maybe, but it really varies because there can be very, very long-standing imbalances in the body where it takes a number of sessions to remove all of those energetically, and then the body needs some time to rebalance itself, to reharmonize after the work is finished. So it really, there's no rule. It varies.
Okay. And what advice would you like to give to someone who is experiencing a challenging time right now?
Well, hang in there. Number one, for sure. But I guess I would say that we have sort of the minor hiccups in our life, the times when day to day it's a struggle. And then we have those bigger times in life where we're in a real fork in the road. For those big forks in the road, I would say that they can be the most instrumental in our growth. Spiritually, as a person, they can be the moments that are the start of us changing from a caterpillar to a butterfly. That's what my husband passing was for me. He led me to a whole new career, a new way of life, a new way of understanding things. And yet that was, the most traumatic thing I've ever been through. So those big moments, I would say, look at where it's taking you, look at what it might be bringing you, look at what you can get out of it. And I would say that even for the smaller moments in life as well, to think about, to question why might this be happening? What could I get out of this? And to realize that we create our reality as well. So sometimes the why of it can relate to decisions we've made earlier in this life, karmic rebalancing from other lives. But there's always an answer. If we're searching and we're questing for that information, I've always found it presents itself to me if we ask the questions one way or another, and it gets conveyed in a way we understand it, believe it or not. So just keep plugging along, ask why, ask what you can gain from it, and know that these things are usually for our highest and best.
At that moment, we don't see it as that way.
No,
Normally,
we
when
don't. And especially if we learn the lesson. Sometimes there's sort of these minor patterns that repeat with us. And sometimes it's the universe is trying to show us something, kind of again and again, kind of saying, look, you have an issue here. Look, there's an issue here. What does this mean? What does this mean? I'll give you a little example. So for myself, one of the past life areas I've worked and cleared in a lot now is speaking up. But the universe consistently in this lifetime would show me where I would react or send me examples of people trying to silence me or cut me off or not have me speak my truth or downplay it. And so what we have to do is break through that barrier and make a different choice. And when we do that, we kind of start, it's another way that we can, within ourselves, start to unravel these past life issues that have been with us and release their hold on us, I guess is what I would say. Yeah.
And what is the most important lesson you've learned in this life?
I would say, I would just say understanding that we are all sparks of the divine. And what that means is that we are pure light and we are perfect. And that's a really hard thing to wrap your head around because no one feels anywhere near perfect. And then you look at the things that are happening on the planet and nothing looks very perfect. But what the energy work I've done has shown me is that the way people behave, there's always an energetic reason. And so these energetic reasons, whether they're body code energies, whether they are past life energies, are like all these layers that are on us that we think are us, and they're nothing to do with us. And as we do some of this self-healing work and we clear these layers off, we suddenly realize that those things aren't us. And we are this unconditional love, this joy, this wanting the best for ourselves and everyone. That is truly who we are at our essence. But in the beginning, I remember one intuitive person I follow would have this phrase of discover your brilliance or unlock your brilliance. And I thought, we're not brilliant because I saw all those energies. But the more we peel those away, the more free, the happier, the more we can see that we are at our core unconditional love and we are a spark of the divine. So pursue that understanding, that divine connection, that divinity within you by doing the work, and know that we can create the life that we want because we are part of source. We are part of that frequency that creates. That's huge. If everybody knew that, just think what the world would be
Imagine we
like.
grow up knowing that, right? Like we've been
Yes,
programmed with all this negative beliefs, and
yes,
it's
yes, so much of it. And you know what's interesting is that what I'm finding now is that the energy patterns on the planet have really shifted. They've shifted from what they were 4 or 5 years ago. And so 5 years ago, if I were to do a body code session for you or for me, I would find lots of our own emotional baggage, our emotions, our thoughts. Fast forward to today, we don't have any of that left. So because of the higher energies that are hitting the planet, these solar flares, the spikes in the Schumann resonance, what I see that doing as an energy practitioner is that it's pushed up our own energies, and they have left us. And these are these moments of, panic or weird emotions that are bubbling up through us in the last few years. It's actually all of that releasing. And we've been getting cleaner and cleaner energetically. And mostly what's left at this point is the inherited emotions. And the inherited emotions are very much things like from our, parents, grandparents, great-grandparents, of feeling worthless, feeling unworthy, shock, panic, all these traumas that those generations have lived through. That's what's left right now to clear. So yes, we ourselves have had baggage, but now we're cleaner, and now we're dealing with, our poor ancestors and their baggage, cleaning that sort of thing through the family tree. But it's showing us that we're becoming a much higher vibration, and in this higher vibration, we are more resilient. We don't hold on to our own emotions anymore. Even toxins in the environment are not impacting us as much. So it's pretty exciting where we're going.
that's wonderful to hear. It's, hope that things are
Yeah,
going the right
yeah.
direction, because right
Oh,
now it doesn't feel like that, right? It's been like a
yeah,
roller coaster ride.
yeah.
So
But
that's
actually amazing things are happening behind the scenes, but there's never growth without some struggle. It's not, if it's easy, then nothing's going to change. And when things aren't working, the systems that aren't working have to be seen, and they have to break down, and to allow the new things to come forward, and for people to want something better. And I think that's what we're starting to see more and more.
that's amazing news to hear. That's really amazing. So what are the next steps for you?
Really, I just want to continue doing what I'm doing, grow the awareness of what can be done. Yeah, just keep doing what I'm doing and see energy work be more recognized, whether it's this kind of energy work or other kinds, for people to realize there are lots of other alternative modalities out there. There are frequency machines like Rife and Spooky 2, and there's just so much that when we realize that we're all energy and we're not just a mechanical piece, a cog in a machine,
Mhm.
and when we take the principles of quantum physics, which everyone seems to accept on there's parallel universes and this is how energy works, but I don't think our society has made that leap into applying quantum physics to biological systems and health. So if we do that, what does that mean? It makes perfect sense with energy work and with frequencies and some of these modalities. So yeah, I'm excited to see alternative healthcare options and energy options and practitioners come forward and have different offerings for different people, depending on what resonates to them, what it is they need. I think we're headed into a whole new world, which is pretty cool, I think.
And if people wanted to connect with you, Sandra, where can they find you?
Yes, they can find me at my website, sandradaniels.ca. I've got a contact form. They can drop me a little message and say hello, or they can tell me a bit about an issue if they're interested in, is this something that energy work might help? I will tap in. If it's something I can help, and that for sure happens, sometimes issues are much more mechanical, physical, structural within the body. I'll tell them that, but if I get that energy work can benefit them, then I'll, express that to them, and we can go from there. They can experience the session, see if it resonates, because whoever anyone chooses to work with or follow or read, our soul should always resonate with that. It should always feel right from within us. So I try to express on my website who I am and know that if people resonate with it, then they're probably in that same alignment with me. Come talk to me. Let's see if a session would be beneficial.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Sandra.
Thank you so
Now,
much for having me.
do we have some time to do a session just to give idea to?
Absolutely.
Perfect.
Absolutely. Why don't we do some body code work?
Perfect. Yes, let's do
Yeah.
that.
So before I move into showing body code, let me just speak to it a bit, because it is a system that's out there that was developed by a chiropractor by a training called Dr. Bradley Nelson,
Mhm.
who I have so much respect for, because how he managed to download all the information of the body code and put it to paper, and then now they're training people, and of course that's the training that I went through, blows my mind. I just think it's very amazing, and I'd love to chat with him someday about how he managed to accomplish that. But the basic story with Bradley Nelson is that he was a chiropractor who would adjust people, and then what he would find is that a week later that person would come back to his practice with the very same thing out of alignment again, and he would start to question what is going on there, like why is this not holding? And what he learned was that missing piece was that trapped emotions were sitting in that region of the body. And when he found the trapped emotions or emotions that were sitting wherever he adjusted and then made the adjustment, then the client didn't come back the next week. So that's what led him to this work. The principles of it are that it's based on applied kinesiology or muscle testing. And a lot of, I know, natural practitioners work with that. I think people are becoming more familiar with it. But the basis of it is that our bodies are so intelligent, our subconscious is so intelligent that we will, a muscle will go strong in response to something that is good for our body or truth or congruent. And likewise, that muscle will go weak in response to something that is not good for us, or incongruent or untrue. And so what the body code program is a decision tree program that's on computer now that provides a map for the subconscious mind to point to the imbalances that are causing whatever the client's issue is. And so the way it works is that, how it's going to work now when I work with you, is that I'm going to connect to your subconscious mind, and do muscle testing, register it through my own body. So I'm going to use what's called, I think he calls it a hole-in-one method, where I'm doing like an OK symbol, and this muscle here is what's going to be strong or weak. And then with my other hand, I'm going to take these 3 fingers and I try to break open that circle. If I can break that open when I'm asking a question, that's a no. And if I can't, if it kind of locks, that's a yes. So what I'm going to be doing as we go through the session is I'm doing that muscle testing with my hands in my lap once I connect to your energy. And I'm just using sort of a binary, should I be looking at something on the left side of this program or on the right side? And there's different options. And so all of them should be a no, one should be a yes. And that's the way the intelligence of your subconscious will lead us through what we need to find. It will lead us to find things in the most important order. So the things that are the biggest part of the issue. And then your subconscious is smart enough to tell us when we need to stop the session. I will just be muscle testing no to everything, because it's your body's way of saying that's enough energy flowing now. And then usually the body needs somewhere from 5 to 7 days, maybe in between sessions, before you'd be ready for another full session. So with that explanation, just to give people a bit of background, and if they want to know more about body code, emotion code, the emotion code book is out, new, I think it was just last year, is the body code book, and discoverhealing.com is the website where they can find any of this information. So give me a moment, and what I want to do is share with you the body code application. And it's usually a bit slow when it starts the first time. Oh, it's not too bad. So just wanted to click on it. Okay, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to connect to your energy, Amanda. So all I do for this right now, if I say my name is Sandra, I muscle test strong. All I need to do is say my name is Amanda, and I just say that right away, and I get a yes. And now if I were to ask myself and say my name is Sandra, my body says, no, I'm registering your responses. I'm getting a yes only as you. So then my next step usually is just to say, may I act as proxy for Mandeep to register your responses? And that's a yes. So thanks for the permission that your body just gave me. And then the next thing I do is just put a little white light around us for protection. And I always ask for the highest and best for the client from the session. Okay, so what we could work on for you today, I know you'd sent me a few issues beforehand. I thought we could work on pain and discomfort related to your neck, if that sounds good to you.
That sounds perfect.
Okay, so I'm just going to scribble a few notes here. I won't type, so I won't make a clackety clack for us, but just to get a few notes down. Okay, so I'm connected as you. What I'm going to say is, to begin with, are there body code imbalances that are causing pain or discomfort in a Mandeep's neck? And I get a yes. So then I'm going to say, okay, what do we need to find and correct? Is it something, the first thing, is it something on the left-hand side? And that's a no. Is it something on the right-hand side? And that's a yes. So then I muscle test each of them. So is this pathogens? That's a no. Is this misalignments? That's a yes. Or nutrition and lifestyle? That's a no. So I always like to get all the no's, and only one should be a yes. So we're going to click into misalignments, and then I can ask again. The misalignment we're looking for, is it on the left-hand side? That's no. Is it on the right? Yes. So skeletal. Axial is the yes. And as I go through all the options, the only yes is thoracic cage. And this is very commonly where we start with people, and where energies sit and cause problems, especially with the first session. So is it something on the left side or on the right? It's on the right side. It's not the ribs, not the manubrium. It is the sternum. And I would say 99% of the time, this is where we start with people, is the sternum. So I'm just going to say sternum is misaligned. And then we're going to ask, okay, is there a reason in the body code system why there is this misalignment? And that's a yes. So we go back to the beginning. And I've learned that, typically it will be an energy or it will be a toxin. So what's causing the misalignment? Is it an energy or is it a toxin? So the first thing coming up is a toxin. And this might seem odd, but some of these categories like toxins and pathogens, but everything is energy. The most solid desk in front of me that I'm working on is still energy that is mostly empty space. This is what quantum physics will tell you. So we manipulate energy with our thoughts, with our intent, and whether we're manipulating a trapped emotion to leave you, or, you know, something bacterial, a toxin to leave you, or something to realign in your body. It's all just changing things with our intent, with the power of our creative mind. So let's ask which toxin this is. It's not on the left side, it's on the right. And the first one I'm getting is in this category of electromagnetic spectrum. Not on the left, but on the right, EMF cellular. And this is, I've got to say, probably the biggest toxin that comes up for people right now. And what we will be shedding is not just, the more we do body code work, the more in general, we are going back in time, clearing the energy body. But we all have lots of pockets of this, right? So all I do when I clear it, I'm just going to sit quietly for a minute, close my eyes, set that intent and that visualization. You can do sort of the same thing with me if you want. You're just agreeing and setting the intent that this doesn't serve you and you want to release these EMF cellular toxins. And that's how quick it is to do that. And then we go back to the beginning, and remember, we're working on the sternum being misaligned. So I want to ask again, is there something else that's causing the sternum to be misaligned? And that's a yes. So is it energy or toxin? This time it's an energy. So we'll go into the energies map. Right-hand side is what we're looking for. And it's something called an addictive heart energy. Addictive heart energy, in short, it's an energy that develops when we have a heart wall, and I think we're going to be led to a heart wall for you. But when we have a heart wall, let me just talk about the heart wall for a sec because they are linked pieces. It means that our body has used emotional energies to put this shielding around our heart, sort of as a protective mechanism. And because we are naturally shedding a lot of, especially inherited emotions at this time, often the heart wall is created from these ancestral energies that are being released and creating the heart wall. And when we have a heart wall, what it means is that the intelligence of our heart sends out messaging just the way our brain sends out messages. That messaging is compromised depending on how thick that heart wall is. As well, when we have a heart wall, it's common that we can have symptoms or some kind of discomfort in the neck. So there's your neck, the upper, like the chest, the upper back. There's sometimes people say I have a tightness on my chest. Another thing people express is saying that they can't quite get a full breath. I feel like I can't quite fully inhale normally. That's usually a sign of a heart wall. But another sign, not a physical sign, but an emotional indicator of a heart wall is that we start to feel, because of that wall around our heart, a little bit apathetic and disconnected from life. And this is because if I'm feeling love for you and you have a heart wall, you don't feel that. It stops at the heart wall. You're sensing that. Or similarly, if you're sending your love out to someone, they're not feeling it because it's stopping at the heart wall. So because there's that disconnect, this addictive heart energy comes in and it drives us to that comfort in the physical of wanting us to go to something again and again and again because it's our comfort. For me, I can tell when I have this because I'll be on my 5th piece of dark chocolate because that's what I like. And I will be craving it just like I hadn't even had one single square of it. But it's now my 5th or 6th piece. And that will usually be my cue. I'll check myself. I'll find an addictive heart energy. I will clear it. And then I'll just sit for a few minutes and I'll say, okay, do I really want that chocolate? Craving is totally gone. So that's what an addictive heart energy is. Let me just quickly release it. Okay, so that shows it's released. So I'm going to ask again, back to the beginning, is there something else that's causing the misalignment of your sternum? Yes. It's another energy, so we will go back here. It's on the right-hand side, and it's in this category called emotional energy. So we'll go into this decision tree, and we can ask, is this a trapped emotion? It's not. Is this a heart wall? Yes. Is this an emotional resonance? No. So here, excuse me, here's the heart wall. And the way I like to practically get a sense of how much this might have been affecting you is to explore the messaging and explore with a number, what percent of the, let's say, what's percent of the messages from your heart right now are reaching the rest of your body. So if there were no heart wall, that would be 100%. You would have perfect messaging. So let me just ask that question within myself. So I usually start in the middle and I just ask, are at least 50% of the messages from Amandeep's heart reaching the rest of her body? And that's a no. Are at least 40%? That's a no. Are at least 30%? That's a yes. At least 35%? That's a no. So we're between 30 and 35. I can get an exact number. I can ask, is this 30 or 31, 32, 3 or 34? Exactly 35%. So 65% of the messages not getting where they need to for optimal harmony in the body. And at that level could very much explain things like discomfort in your neck for sure. So what we're going to ask now is, what are the heart wall emotions that are making up that heart wall? And we go to the chart that you can see there, and we do our sort of binary yes, no from the options. So we start by saying the first heart wall emotion that we need to find, is it in column A? And that's a no. Is it in column B? That's a yes. Then we can say, is it in an odd row of column B? That's a no. Is it in an even row? That's a yes. Okay, so then we're going to go through the 3 even. Is it row 2? Is it row 4? It's row 6. And I would say at least 95% of everybody's emotional baggage right now is ancestral, so inherited things from B6. Primarily, as I've mentioned earlier, unworthy and worthless are big ones. Shock is fairly big as well. So I can ask, is this a Mandeep's emotion? And it's not. That's a no. I can ask, is it absorbed? That would mean taken on from someone else in this lifetime. That's a no. So is it inherited? That's a yes. Let's see which one it is. I'm just going to go through them in my mind very quickly, all of them. So this is worthless. That's inherited. Just going to make a note of that. And we can clear these one by one, but I've learned that there's so much that we've accumulated that we have ancestrally as well as our own, that we make much better progress the more of a batch approach that we can take, the more we can get out at one time. So let me just see how much I can clear of this. Okay, so we are going to do a batch approach of this. When I take this approach, the most I can sort of scoop out at one time is 40 instances, and that's what I'm getting is here. So again, it points to quite a bit there. This is probably, I mean, hypothetically, it could be 40 different people. It wouldn't likely be, though. It's probably a lesser number of relatives, probably the grandparent, a lot of grandparent stuff, maybe some parent stuff comes up, maybe further back than that, but a fewer number of individuals who either suffered through a lot of trauma in their lifetime or were prone to this way of thinking or being through what they experienced in their lifetime. The very cool thing about the ancestral trapped emotions and ancestral energies is that we can clear it not just from you, but from your entire family tree. And I know that maybe sounds too woo-woo and too good to be true, but I've seen with clients where I work on one person and a relative, I hear from that client that the relative is exhausted after the session, and I haven't directly worked on the relative. I've seen this more than once. So it's a very cool, for me, piece of evidence that it does clear it from everyone in the family tree. So let me sit with this just for a minute, but our intention here, you're going to hold the same intention, is that we want to clear through your entire family tree these 40 instances of inherited worthless. Okay, we'll get that that's been done. So we'll move on to the next one. Is there another heart wall emotion? That's yes. Column B, even row, back to B6. Again, it's inherited. Unworthy this time. And these often come up close together in similar quantities because they are close, not exactly, sort of related. Let me just have a think here. So wanting to clear what we can behind the heart wall, but also the neck. 39 instances here, so let's clear these. Okay, and then once again, we can ask, is there another heart wall emotion? That's a yes. Column B again, an even row. This time we're in B4. And it is once again an inherited emotion. So this is panic. That's inherited. Let me see what number we want to clear. 38, still big numbers. Let's work on clearing that. Okay. Is there another heart wall emotion? So right now your body's saying, no, there isn't. I know from the number that we started at that there is going to be more, but it's as though it presents itself in layers, and we can get to a first layer, clear that. Sometimes later in the session, the next layer will show itself. So right now your subconscious is saying, no, I don't see any other heart wall emotions. I'm going to take the heart wall down. That's a separate step. And then we're going to see what that number is for communication for you. Okay, so I saw the heart wall release. And now let me ask, are at least 50% of the messages from your heart reaching the rest of your body? That's a yes. Are at least 60%? Yeah, that's good. At least 70% is yes. At least 80% is no. At least 75% is no. So between 70 and 75, is it 70, 71, 72, 74, right at 75. So that is a huge improvement from 35% of the messaging. All right, so this all came up, if you remember, because your sternum was misaligned. So let me just ask your subconscious, is there anything else that's misaligning your sternum? And that's a no. Then I can ask, is your sternum at this moment in time still misaligned? And I get yes. And that's not uncommon when there's been something major sitting in the area like this heart wall. So what I'm going to do is just take a moment to ask and set an intent to energetically optimize the alignment of your sternum. Okay, and I get that we've done that. And that's piece one. So that's sort of how a body code session flows, to give you an idea of it. Happy to keep going, depending on how much time you wanted to spend on the session, see where we get you to. But that piece at least demonstrates how this tends to work with clients.
I think that's perfect. Thank you so much, Sandra, for doing that. Just wanted to, just get an idea of how to show other people how it's done. So,
Right.
if people
Right, so they have a sense of it. And if you want, I can just speak quickly to the past life part of it, because it's different.
Okay.
It has nothing to do with, what I can do is, I'll just stop sharing and turn things back to you here. Give me 1 second to do that. I wouldn't want to forget to do that. There we go. So just to talk a bit about the past life piece, it has nothing to do with a body code. It's something that Spirit, my guides, taught me how to do at the point where I started to realize a lot of things would be shifted by body code work, but not everything. And they were saying the other things are past life. And then I sort of said, well, I guess I can't do anything about that. And they said, we'll teach you. So because I'm clairaudient, because I can get information through hearing words as thoughts that stream through my mind, that come into my mind, the way this works is that I connect with a person's guide. So I would connect with your guides and I would ask them, for example, what is causing Amandeep's fear of heights? That was a personal example I worked on for myself. So they would look back through your Akashic records and find the different lifetimes where you had trauma around heights, whether that was falling, witnessing people fall. And in those lifetimes, they find these soul contracts, as I call them. So it is almost like a mini contract where in a lifetime, it can be in this lifetime as well, but most of them are from other lifetimes. When we're in the midst of a trauma and we say something or think something with so much emotion and focus behind it, it becomes this mini contract. And so it then can become active in other lifetimes. And usually what happens is that it becomes active in this lifetime when we reach the age in this lifetime that we said it or thought it in that other lifetime. And so the older we get, the more of these lifetimes that can sort of accrue on us of having self-confidence issues or fear of heights or whatever it is. So your guides are the ones that can look back through your Akashic records and find what you said or what you thought. And then one by one, they give me those wordings. And the muscle testing works well for me because I hear it, I write it down, and then I'll just muscle test in my mind with the person's guides. Okay, this is what I heard. Is this correct? Sometimes the wording is tweaked until we get the best version of how you thought or said it. And then I say what that is, what that statement or thought is, and we set intent to release it. And that begins the release process, just the way this body code work, identifying things began the release process with you.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, go through those statements and that's how it works. It's
any final message regarding your work or energy?
No, I just encourage people to explore where their soul leads them, where their excitement leads them, not to worry about what we've been taught to think or believe, and follow your own inner truth and enjoy the journey.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Sandra. Thank you so much. It was a pleasure chatting with you, and hopefully I'll have you again soon. Thank you.
Thanks, Amanti.
Bye.
Bye-bye.